Greetings, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy new all-time high Friday. Seems like it is becoming a mantra around here, but it is July 18th, Friday. Congratulations. We made it through the week and new all-time highs. We get through the show. We got a really, really good one. A lot of informative, great stuff. Also, a little bit more information. I will be away, so no programs for a little bit. I will be back on. I'm looking for July 31st, so we'll probably hope to do a month-end video on that day. So I'll be returning the next Thursday. All right. So, well, let's get through the market analysis here and see what we can expect. In my absence, market looks very, very, very strong. Let's get to the doc and review not only the day, but the week that was as well, and some surprising alpha actually. Let's see where they rotated into. So here, as you can see, the Chinese here. We'll get into the day first. Today, Brazil and biotech fell 2.5%. To me, like I've been saying, the market is a big roulette wheel right now, and every piece it seems is getting allocation. I want to see where the chips fall as they may, or what totally falls apart. Biotech is one of the last pieces that is pretty much right at that. If you look at the XBI, and we will, and a lot of the constituents within it, a lot of them are at their 1 year 50% Fibonacci. They're right in there in the middle. To me, they're apt and ripe for a good catch-up trade. But today, a sucker pod's down 2.5%, as was the EWZ. We'll take a look. And a big move for utilities, new all-time highs for utilities with the index. SPY, China, and ARK all up 1.5%. So ARK can't keep a good man down. This thing's an absolute beast. And I hold my breath for this one. New all-time highs today for SPY, Qs, utilities, industrials, semis, tech, software. If you own something today, there's a very good chance it hit an all-time hizzle, as they say in financial services. And then as we wrap up the week, pretty interesting. As we zoom out this past 5 days, really the absolute alpha term percent movers, positive or negative, was KWEB, Chinese Internet, Ark, and Uranium, all up 8% this week. They led the absolute moves. So totally, to me, risk on, risk on, risk on, and then of course, energy trade as well, and even an AI tilt. So let's get into that. A lot of good information and lots of good charts in today's program. Last for about a week and a half or so. Let me get into the dashboard panel before we move any further. Okay, so really fast before I get into the intraday chart, Tesla, a nice move up today, 3% and change. So that really important line for that is 320. Above that, I like it. Below that, not a massive fan. It's kind of that simple. This one looks like it's a nice thrust here, and it's a catch-up trade that's now picking up. There's very few catch-up trades left. I'm looking at Apple, and then the Chevron, United Health, but I don't think the world is risky enough to pick up a hunk of hot garbage like United Health yet. When it is, then you really know we've exhausted all avenues to profitability. But Netflix, they got walloped today after earnings, but expectations were super high. That's down 5%. That stock has been off quite a bit off of its highs as of late. They've rotated into other players. Coinbase, it's very possible too they rotated heavily into it when the tariffs were a very big concern, and they were the top of the non-affiliated tariff list, and a lot of money went to Netflix and Spotify, and now the tariffs are somewhat less of a concern. They're rotating into other somewhat more tariff headline sensitive names. Another reason, but setup was amazing. Not good, rather, going into the print and then down 5%. Coinbase continues to add up 2%. All the crypto equity names were up massive today, or at least very good. Hood up 4%. I saw Circle up massively. A trader texted me about that. AMD shed 2% today. Amazon up 1%. Strategy down 6%. Big move for Strategy. United Healthcare continues to go lower, down 2%. Looks like probably the worst heavily traded stock in the market. And Taiwan Semi down 2%. That had an ugly day, but overall a good stock. So as I zoom out, we got those all-time highs right at the opening bell, and they actually sold it that second. So pre-market, I'll round for simplicity's sake, but we got to 629 in SPY. That is your all-time high, and they actually sold it off throughout the day. 12:30, we hit those lows right around 626.5, and you see that VWAP continuing to descend throughout the day, and then we end up closing right at VWAP. So overall, a pretty much digestion day for the market. We'll take a look at what did move in absolute terms, but we closed exactly right pretty much on VWAP. as I zoom out here and see what's going on for the next week, 2 weeks, so on and so forth, as as I get back at the end of the month or so. So I still see this market, in a very, very soft bearish distribution phase, very soft, and that's given that we're at all-time highs. Again, you have a very small bearish divergence today. You didn't really get to that on all-time highs. You typically want to at least get overbought, and we're at a 68 here in RSI land. So typically you can get a little bit of a very small rug pull there. I see a convergence here at 618 as well in moving averages, typically a normal place for the market to take a breather. I still kind of see that happening through about another week or so, through the end of next week to early of the following week. So basically, going into my return, I see this market basing right around that 616 to 618 level. Seems crazy what can take this absolute Goliath down. But just slightly, the thing's absolute stallion. Absolutely. Look at the stochastic momentum mix. This thing's been absolutely running, minus this one bad week it had from May 19th to May 23rd, just that shed of the gains it had. This thing's been a runaway train since May 23rd. If you got bowled up right when I was getting ready to sign off, actually, and tell you guys I was going to Metallica, because that was the day I was on the floor with Kirk and James and gang. The market's been a runaway train. It was 580 that day, and really has not looked back on any kind of weakness and strength. Your last shot really to get in was June 23rd at 597, and now we continue to surge. So as I say, over the next, I'm having my target date here right around the 25th, possibly a few days after that, somewhere through the 28th, kind of at the latest. I do see us pulling back to about that 616 to 618 area. That being said, market absolutely does not have to do what I say. When you get semis making all-time highs like it did today, as well as industrial, SPY, and Qs, Mamma mia, that is a lot of upward pull. This is possible just on the last thing I'll say on this, on the FOMO and the animal spirits. This could go to, I see the Bollinger Band expansion go to 636 now. So I see, immediately short-term upside, another 1.5% if folks want to pile in, but still see about 10 points of downside and up 9. Almost seems like even money, and with the momentum to your back, you go higher. But again, bearish divergence here, just calling for a market taking a little bit of a breather. Trees don't grow to the sky. As we do say here on the program from time to time. Let's see what did try growing to the sky today in big, big moves. XLU, new all-time high today, multiple standard deviation move. Wow, if you own utility today, up 1.7%, a monster move. Look at the chart, looks absolutely great. Like I said, pretty much all parts of the market are getting, capital. Just don't, obviously all-time highs is great. I wouldn't chase it up here. I see this kind of pulling back, like I said. All these charts, I'm guessing, because of the great run-up we've had, are going to look a little bit overvalued or fully priced here, kind of almost similar to the Netflix setup going into the print. So pretty much I'm guessing a lot of the charts here, at least domestically, are going to be pullbacks over the next 2 weeks. Let's see. For this, I see a pullback to about 81.80 or so, basically where we were 2 days ago over the next 2 weeks. But very good-looking chart here. It's funny to also mention not even 64 RSI on these new all-time highs. So it's pretty interesting to see that on utilities. Nice strength, upper Bollinger Band tag. First time it's done that since early June. Nice uptrend. Wouldn't change it, or wouldn't chase it here. I do see about $1.50 to $2 reduction, or about a 3%-ish pullback in the next 2 weeks for utilities. But a big move today. Speaking of big move, why we had that Chinese fella in the dock, FXI up 1 1/3% today. A big move. We were looking at this chart. I think it was the other week or so. We had said that this one looked really, really ripe. June 24th at about, if you can get it, under $36. So let me go to the chart here. June 24th right here, and my cursor is $36. It actually went up to 37.25 and dropped right back down to about 36.25, giving you an entry. And now here we are at $38. To me, pretty much fully, again, similar charts even globally now. I don't like this one above, 37.90 or so. So today's surge was a little bit too much for me. Nice to see that momentum. Might have a little bit more up ahead. Again, important to note, the 52-week highs on FXI is from mid-March at 38.73. We are very close. It got within 40 cents or a percent or so today. We'll see if it does it next week. Again, we're going to highlight KWEB. KWEB, an amazing week. Could be all it needs to drag it to new highs. I just think an entry closer to 36.60 or so would be much, much, much better for risk reward, given how long this one's taken to break out of 35 and 38. All right, and the next ARK, a new 52-week high for this. What can you say? We're talking about ARK every week. Again, we mentioned it at the CMT event last week. Folks are buying ARK because sometimes they can't get the allocation to crypto, so a lot of funds, if you can't get into IBIT or obviously straight correlation with Bitcoin futures as whatever have you, folks are playing ARK instead, and it is working wonderfully. Boy, oh boy. We've recommended this many times. I fully value right here is around 75.5. I don't like chasing it right here, given the momentum, just how far it is above the 200-day moving average. But they've been lining up to buy this one since literally about June 10th, being overbought much of that period for 5 weeks now, and it's lifted the stock from $58 to $78. Like I said, a lot of the signs top down. Like I said, in the market, a lot of things are fully valued, although the animal spirits are taking us higher. I just personally wouldn't chase this here. Again, kind of an interesting candle today. We did close up 1.8% and 52-week highs, but we did trade all the way as high as 78.89, and then they rejected that and went lower. All that being said, though, we are still a 74 RSI, very strong looking chart. And again, this thing's been just absolutely ramping since, what is this, Mother's Day here, essentially $54 and runaway train. Kathy Wood Summer, we've been saying it since, I think right around then. And it looks great. Also, the best performing stock during Trump administration one. I just pay attention to stuff like that. And again, given the correlation to Bitcoin, the best performing asset of all time in the year it's having, you got to allocate a little bit to this. That being said, wait for your chance. I do think you get a chance at this at around $70, $71. You're going to have to be patient about 1 to 2 weeks or so, and then that'll be your invitation to get into this. But ARK, new 52-week high today. Congratulations, Kathy. The losers today. There were two big areas that fell today in a day like this, with the indices flat essentially. Brazil down 3%. Let's take a look at the chart. We highlighted it. Whoops, let me move the box a little bit ago. And we said this thing is really having a resurgence. It's trying to rediscover itself as of early May here, with a sliding 200-day moving average, just trying to see that old resistance as of mid-May, can it now become a new floor? It exhibited that in late May rather, and now with a big fall, it looks like it's trying to be magnetized towards that again. We're at the lowest RSI we've had since we were coming off of those still really weak momentum here. To me, still decent flows in EWZ overall since the absolute lows or the 52-week lows in December. I think this one potentially gives you a little bit more pain as low as that 200-day moving average, but then I do expect it to hold. And then I think you get a surge towards about 27.5. So I think it could be a decent trade tactically. But I do think maybe this is ugly candle on the day. It traded as low as 26.82, basically 3 cents from where it is now. So it didn't look like they were done selling it towards the end of the day. Potentially it gets to 26.40. And I think that could possibly be your invitation to see the dollar, what it's doing. Brazil, not the best of markets here globally, but I think a lot of things are going to get their moment in the sun here. So I don't love that it didn't even scratch to get overbought, not only on this big rally it had from 27 to 29, and I'm calling that a big rally because it's been such a dog, but really a larger rally came off of from December when the Fed cut back here. This thing went from 22 all the way to 29. So you have to be patient with this one. I do think it sets up decently next week. If you're patient, right around 26.40, and that should set up a potential move towards about 27.5. But Brazil got handled today. Let's look at biotech, another one that we're talking about. We'll get its moment in the sun. Biotech today got beat down 2.1%. So this one, yikes, really no reason. Again, so these guys peaked. I think this was the day that the Kennedy whole thing conversation was happening. Again, the election day was right here. And then right here is pretty much the peak is when Trump said that he was going to pick Kennedy. And then obviously everyone looked up what he was all about. And then immediately the biotechs have had a problem ever since then. This was before rates or anything specific in terms of Fed Day. That was the Kennedy news, November 11th, also Veterans Day, I believe. And ever since then, the biotechs have technically had a beautiful structural problem with a sliding 200-day moving average. It did it very well here from December. You could see all the way through February, and now even in the lows of April when this thing hit all the way 67. And now really, really dramatic things it's been doing for the last week and a half. It's really playing tango with a sliding 200-day moving average while still holding a 50 RSI I'll even forgive that weakness. But this has had a 40, I'll say, RSI since the week of the lows. So mixed pictures. Now, what do I think? Unfortunately, I don't think it's time for this one just yet. I do think it'll get its time. I don't think it's right now. I think this is going to be a messy chart. I think this hangs in around 85 for the next 2 weeks with a potential floor of about 80 to 81. So overall, I think the downward momentum will continue, and this will be a beautiful chart to trade technically anytime it gets 200-day rollover. I think it's also an example of, potentially just rates where they are, and overall healthcare being one of the absolute biggest junk losers. You have a lot of losers in that sector, and that lack of capital drift will affect a subsector like biotech. But overall, nice overbought behavior. I do think it will start to give way sooner than later. Hang in, like I said, around 85, and then I do think it'll visit 81 over the next 2 weeks or so. That was biotech. All right. Man, we've done a lot here. All right, top three gainers in the past 5 days. The absolute best week in ETF land for uranium, up 9% this week to a new 52-week high today. How about that? We're talking about uranium, and we had said that it was in the penalty box during this period, obviously. I didn't really care until it started to close above that 2730 level. I really trusted it. It was a brick wall. And then not only does it do that, double confirmation early May. What happens? Overbought, and boy, have people not exited the store really since then. May 9th all the way through essentially June 27th. It took a break June 27th to July 10th. That is 14 days, typical for a cycle as I price it. And now on the new 52-week highs, we have what? Resurged and recaptured above 70 RSI, 72, and wow, a nice looking candle up 1.3%. So I think this has a more upside, bullish week ahead. I'm kind of fully priced here at about 41. So a little bit of maybe zigs and zags to the old former highs, about maybe like 39, 39 and a half, and they buy that and they take it to 41. But congratulations, really, really strong trading in uranium since April 23rd. Honestly, it's been kind of almost a straight line since $23 for uranium. And new 52-week highs today. The best performing ETF is uranium this week. Number 2, right behind it. So Ark is number 2. Uranium up 9%. Ark up 7%. Again, new 52-week high today. We just looked at this chart, so I'm not going to absolutely drill it further, but absolute stallion is Ark, the second best week for belonging to an ETF, belonging to Ark. And then number 3 was KWEB, basically tied with Ark, right on its tails. KWEB, a big week. You see here in the candle, China had a big day, of course. So, of course, KWEB will get it as well. This traded up to 36.72, and they sold it off a little bit off the highs. This, to me, fully priced here at right around 30, to be frank, right around like 35.90. To me, this was an impressive, nice little breakout. I'm curious to see how much more it has. But overall, I do think over the next 2-ish weeks, this will get to about 34.5. So I don't like chasing Chinese internet here. Might have a little bit more, but I think overall the overall motion of the ocean will drag it towards a 34 handle in about 2-ish weeks. Next, 3 losers of the past 5 days. It's not just all-time highs everywhere. The home construction group down 4%, so not horrible, less than 1% a day. Today down just about 64 bips. But home construction, not the place to be. You can see that chart. It's not like a lot of charts look like this week. Again, we're talking about biotech and its sensitivity to rates. Of course, home construction has a sensitivity to rates. And when did this really fall out of bed? Also in December, November. Again, if you look at the peak from biotech, that was very Kennedy sensitive. I'm talking about similar also with something like a rate sensitivity. No reason to own this. This is when the Fed took action right here on the 18th. And this is when this group, ironically, right, they cut rates. You think it would help the group. Markets are not always as you think, because long term is kind of inflationary. We'll see. Anyway, so we got oversold, and boy, was it oversold for a long time into the new year. And then the lows came in April with the SPY stock market lows, and still the 200 moving average tried to make a grab, the best shot it had last week, and boy, it was not enough. I don't like this group for the next week. It probably does hang in right around this 95 handle, but similar to what I said about the chart earlier, I think overall this has a very, very, very likely probability of getting to about $92 over the next week or so. I wouldn't want to be in this group. It's had a nasty week from a 100 handle. It's going to hang in, like I said, around 95. and then probably get to 91. Don't like this group. Nastiest place to be this week, down 4%. The second one, and I love this group, GDXJ. I always say buy some pullbacks. The second worst place to be this week, down 3.7%. GDXJ. Let's see what you got. This group did peak back here. Let's look at the internals on June 5th. Let's see if some of you want to get out of. So it is giving up the ghost a little bit in terms of the 50 RSI trading, and now it's dealing with this 45, although that's pretty much the low it's been in since the SPY lows in early April. I'll be very honest. This is actually giving me, a little bit of a wedge here. I don't really love the slowing down the prior highs it's had back here, and it has been over a month of losing that momentum. So here's also a problem in terms of the cycles. I don't like the next 2 weeks ahead for this. I think it's going to have kind of like a road bump. I think it's going to stop at $65, hang in there for a little bit. And then it seems like this does want to visit with a little bit of vol expansion, get to about $64. We'll see if they let the foot off the gas in beta like SPY over the next week, although they're not. We didn't know what's on highs today. But should they do that, they will scoop in on here. I'm looking at the chart at former resistance or former support and resistance. I mean, I still think this is a buy 65, but yeah, there are a little bit of concerning signs, but I'm going to give this an absolute benefit of the doubt, and you buy it. And if you can get this thing at $63, bless you, because it's probably at 68 very soon. But I don't like this chart for the next 2 weeks. It looks like it wants to go a little bit lower for GDXJ. So not a buy signal on GDXJ right now after it's had the second worst week after home construction, gold miners. Wait, pick your spots on this unless you get a clean to 63 entry. Then I would do it. And then the other one, we said this one was going to be not so well. The XLA, let's give you an update. XLA down 3.5%, so just a hair behind gold miners. I do not like this chart right here. This looks like it's going lower. With more certainty, I have this over gold miners over the next 2 weeks. This looks like it wants to go to 83. So not a massive collapse, but I see this expanding as well as just, I do think this was the top. And it got Dikembe'd here. The 200 moving average is barely going down a penny a day. It's stuck at $88 even. I think it got Dikembe'd there. It's been a very meaningful level since mid-June here. And yeah, I think this is headed towards $83. And this has been trying to hug 50 RSI trading. I don't think it's going to do it, and at least probably get to 40, which would drag it to synthetically about 83 spot here. So not terrible, but range bound after that, probably even possibly sell Stratus if you had a high IV rank reading. Woo. All right, top 3 trades of the past 5 days. If you're long uranium, long ARK, and long KWEB, congratulations. You've been absolutely crushing the stock market. Now, if you're long these 3 things, this is one of my favorite parts of the show. Really helps me reallocate and think 30,000 foot view. Top 3 trades of the past 52 weeks. If you were in these, you are absolutely crushing the market since last July through today. You are number 1 performer. And let's get a near-term setup. Is IBIT. Year-over-year performance return is what? 84%. My God. There are 52 weeks in a year, for goodness sakes. So more than 1% a week, obviously, is IBIT. This one peaked just, if you recall, 4 days ago at 69.5 essentially, and today down 1.5% nearly. You did get a nice bullish confirmation there as well, being overbought with a 72 RSI. Want to see how it trades? I always say it on a Friday afternoon show. Want to see how it trades this weekend, of course, but I just personally wouldn't chase it right here. Just all the charts right now kind of look the same, and I'll be wrong until I'm right, if that makes sense. Overall, I want to be long in this chart, of course, but for the next 2 weeks, this looks like it wants to get to about 63.5, which is a $3 reduction or about a 4 or 5% slip. So we will see. It's not massive. So for Bitcoin, that would be a 5K slip. Take it to about 115, a little bit of nothingness, and that'll set up your invitation to buy. But I wouldn't personally chase this here. I would wait for an entry around $63. You see that important level that it's been for IBIT as well, and that will be your invitation to get in with a 69 target or 10% upside. Call spreads come to mind, diagonals, so on and so forth, but it's not the time right now to do that. Number 2, trade of the past 52 weeks. It's absolutely wild. Let me just double check this. If I did this right, if I believe my eyes, it is Bitcoin or IBIT. And then number 2, yeah, my goodness, we highlighted earlier. You got to own some of it. I know it's correlated, like we said, with the fund managers. They can't get access to crypto, so they play ARK. But if you actually look at what the ARK fund. It's this specific ARK. I know there's the autonomous ETF. There's the ARK F fintech. You got a lot of others. I like this one. This is the one with the alpha, and it's killing it. It's 10% Tesla. As Tesla get above that 320 level, it's really going to do wonderful things for ARK. Coinbase is 9%, so that's where you get that huge crypto correlation. And then Roblox is 7%, and also they have 7% of Roku, and these guys are 6% ownership of Circle. So it's really a nice flywheel that's working right now. Obviously, Circle had a big day as well. This is your second best ETF of the year. We talked about the entry and where you'd want to get in. So I'm not going to spend a little bit more time, too much more time on this. Wait for a pullback to about 71, and then, as I said, to your target of getting to back to about 77. But I wouldn't chase this right here. But ARK, my goodness, your second best performer. And look at this, number 3. So it's IBIT up 84%. Then you lose a little bit of alpha. Then it's ARK up 66%. And then a little bit below that is FXI. It's back in it, up 46%. That's right. Underneath this, there's a little bit of breadth. You have uranium is there underneath that, as well as gold. So there are trades out there. Truly, it is a bull market in many places. Metals, tech, crypto, China. I mean, just don't be in the bad spots. Again, we talked about the FXI chart. Again, don't forget, this is getting closer to Yen-Mageddon, although that was everyone's effect last August 5th. But this was a $24 ETF last August. And as we approach this August, we're now talking $38. We talked about the setup. Don't love it right here. I would wait for an entry in the next, 2-ish weeks, around 36.75. That'll be your invitation to get into the third best performer year over year. So again, pounding the table before I sign off and talk to you guys in about a week and a half. You got to get into Bitcoin, specifically IBIT. You got to get into ARK, allocate some there, and then you got to get back into the China story, and then you're going to see more rotation back into Europe. It's just this wheel that continues, then you're getting back into gold, so on and so forth. So have a full portfolio, have a full great weekend, as I will, and vacation, so on and so forth, what have you. And I will see you guys at the end of the month. Rock on. Go higher. Woo, New World Order.